Hi guys, and welcome back to Iclone 3D, where we discuss tips, tricks and tutorials for the latest animation softwares. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications for all our future tutorials. You can also follow me on Instagram at Iclone 3D. If you'd like to donate to the channel, you can use my PayPal email below, and any donations are greatly appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with the tutorial. So today I've got a really cool tutorial, guys, how to customize the eyes and, really get them looking unique and like our own. And I don't mean kind of the shape of the eyes. I mean, what we're going to customize is the actual eyeball, the sclera, the pupil, the iris, etc. So what you're going to do is load up your character, and you can see she's got these nice piercing blue eyes. And we're going to first make a quick search in our packs here, and we're just going to search for eye. And in our character tab, we'll see we've got quite a few options to change the eye and, get some different colors going, etc. What we're going to do today, though, is we're going to actually amend and correct different things and change different aspects just to get it more unique and more our own. So I'm going to firstly change it to these brown eyes here. And what we're going to do is hit replace. You don't want to change the material only, as that won't let you edit it later. You want to hit replace, and that will then replace the eyes and apply the new materials in the material tab. So firstly, if we click on the standard eye, you can see we've got a standard eye and we've got the standard cornea right and left eyes. So if we click on standard eye and we scroll down, you can see that there's not anything that we can actually really edit. So we haven't got really any control over it. But what you'll see is if you click the standard cornea right, then we can now scroll down and you'll see we've got these shader settings that pop up that weren't there before, and now allow us to actually customize these eyes in detail. So firstly, we'll see the texture tab here. We're not going to really play around with this, but this is all your textures that make up the kind of materials for the eye. And in this tab here, the eye, we can actually start to play around with the shadows and, really get some cool effects going. And I'll show you exactly what we can do here. So if we, start to mess around with it, you can see kind of introduces this shadow here in the eyeball at the top of it. And, nothing really cool, nothing that would really, be excited to do. But where we can actually really start to get some cool effects going is if we come down here into the advanced tab and we say mess around with the color here. We can change that to a red. You can see in the corner of the eye, the red's starting to appear. And if we change that to blue or any other color, you can just see in the corner of the eye, it starts to show right here. So, just a good way to kind of, add an effect if maybe, you want a character that's maybe a little bit tired, or, maybe a bit strained from overworking, or, maybe she's got an eye infection coming on. This is the great way to do it. Maybe you want a character who's, been a bit naughty and has, had a bit of a smoke with his friends, and maybe is a little high. What you can do is you can then come down to the shadow radius and the hardness, and we can play about with these little buttons here, these little sliders, and you can see we can start to introduce a little bit more of that redness around the eye. So you really can see, the difference that it makes. And, you can pull that all the way down if you wanted to kind of really, really make her look like she's had a marathon smoking session with her buddies. And we'll just leave that about there. And then we can also play with the radius of that. And you can see that that will kind of mess around with how much it spreads around the eye. If you really wanted that kind of red, like bloodshot, you can really go all the way down with that, and you can see the effects that has. You want to be mindful of not covering the actual pupil, and we're now losing the brown color of the pupil. So, unless you want to kind of, creatively do that for some reason, that's fine. There is no right or wrong, but we're going to kind of keep the brown because we want to retain the natural eye look. But, it looks like she's had a long day at work, or, maybe come out of a swimming pool and got too much chlorine in her eyes. But this is just a great way you can, do some really kind of random effects and, get some really cool looks going to the character. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with that and show you how you can do that with other colors. So if you just go back into the color palette, you'll see any color you pick, that now shows in the eye. So just a really cool way to, change the sclera and get some wonderful effects. So we'll cancel that. and we'll take this off. So I'll just bring that down, bring that back up, and oh, that looks really cool. So you can see there, just a great way to kind of get it so it doesn't cover the pupil perfectly, and then you can kind of take the hardness away and mess around with it like that. But we're going to get rid of that anyway, so we're kind of moving past that. And what we're going to go now into is the iris. So if we go into the iris tab here, which is already open, you can see we can now start to play around with the actual iris, and we can change the depth. We can make it a bit smaller, a bit larger, make her look like she's been on some party drugs and having quite a wild trip. It would be really cool if you could keyframe these, but by the looks of it, you can't actually keyframe them to animate. So you're going to have to kind of get your eyes set how you want them, and that's pretty much it. But here again, we can play with the roughness of the iris, and we can also play with the brightness of that and kind of just make them a little bit brighter. And you can go all the way as if she's like a superhero with superpowers. And you can just really mess around with it and kind of get the look that you're going for. You can also play with the scale of the pupil. And, if you wanted them kind of completely wide or, completely disappeared, non-existent, you can just mess around with that until you get the look that you're happy with. In the advanced tab here, you can play around with the IORs and the cloud in the eye. We won't see it much with the brightness up. So in order to kind of see it take effect, we do need to turn the brightness down a bit. And we can then raise these bars here. And we can also kind of play with the size of the iris itself if you wanted to completely remove it or bring them as wide as you want. But here in this tab, if we mess around with this, you can see it also kind of just again dilates the pupils a little bit more. And you can change the inner iris color here, which is I was going to get to. You can see inside the iris here, the little brown part, that changes the color. So it's quite faint, you can't see it, but it is there and it does have some effect. I'll just leave it at that and hit OK. And you can make that smaller to see more of that and make that more present. And then we can kind of turn that brightness up and, get that seen a little bit more. And I'll just change that to a different color to see how that impacts. But you can see there the subtle effects it's having. So I'll cancel that. And then if we go further down, we can play here with the limbus. And we can just kind of adjust the color width of how kind of bright it is or how faint it is. So that's kind of up to your creative mind. Whatever you're trying to go for, but you can mess around with that. We'll just bring that back a little bit and just blend that a little bit more. So you can just really blend the iris and the pupil in just a little bit more around the sclera. And then you can also adjust the sclera brightness and make that really white, or you can make it really dark depending on what effects you're going for. And you can also mess around with the roughness of that. So that kind of concludes the tutorial, guys. It really is really simple to kind of start adjusting the eyes and playing around with things and, getting your own unique look. So really hope the tutorial helps and really hope it helps you go away, get creative and, start making some amazing material to put out there for the world to see. So until next time, see you again soon for another tutorial.